Today on Locked On Rockies, outmatched from the beginning, the Colorado Rockies unable to escape an early deficit and strike out a bunch, leading to, you guessed it, another loss.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 21st day of May in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, you are in the right spot, like I mentioned. So thank you again so much for making us your first listen to the day and for firing off so many comments in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. I wanted to read a comment, at least first to start, because it was a funny one. We'll get to more comments as well. This one's from Robert. Paul, did you get kicked out of your place? All your stuff except for one Rockies banner is hanging behind you. That's what you get for betting on the Rockies to cover the spread on every game so far this year. No, I love it. I'm in the middle of moving. So actually next week, the show might have a little bit of a different look because I'll be in a different spot. So the same show, but different room that I'll be in. So yeah, I know the audio has probably sounded a little more echoey and stuff like that. I am finishing up a move, and I wanted to keep at least the last remnants of my background here. But yeah, it's definitely not the best looking set here, but it's kind of like looking like what parts of Coors Field are looking like these days here. But of course, we got another game to break down, and I wanted to highlight one thing. I'm going to put my GM hat on here today, and I think the Rockies should be aggressive in pursuing Kyle Schwarber. It won't happen, but I want to explain why here in a little bit, coming up on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we dive into everything, today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Okay, so here is the deal. Out of everything that's, you know, with the pitchers and everything when it comes to confidence, I think I'm the least, even, I guess, I don't know. It's tough with the way Herman's gone this year. My confidence in Antonio Senzatela is low. And it's not that he can't be effective in some ways, but I just don't think he, with the missed time and coming back, it just seems like teams are locked in and ready to go from the start. He gets a couple strikeouts, maybe like 3, but for it to be, you know, the weak contact in his whole philosophy, I understand that, but it just keeps getting shelled here. I mean, and here's from Patrick Saunders, I believe, before the game yesterday. Let me get this tweet up here because I got a few from Patrick Saunders I'm going to read today. Rockies right-handed pitcher Antonio Senzatela needs to turn his season around. Opponents are batting .381 against him, the highest average in the majors with a minimum of 80 with 8 starts. 74 hits allowed are the most through a pitcher's first 9 starts since the Angels' Joe Blanton, 86. in 2013. So Antonio Senzatela follows that up with giving up 10 more hits in that game. So now in Antonio Senzatela's first 10 starts this year, he has allowed now 84 hits. I don't know what that batting average calculates up to against him, but we cannot, you cannot have a guy that's got a near 400 batting average, that hitters have a near 400 batting average against him and expect good results. And especially now, I mean, when you're looking at the level of talent the Rockies are playing, again, I believe the broadcast said still in the stretch of 29 games against teams above 500. And when your starter can go, when your starter goes in like that, and it is an immediate, when teams have that immediate comfortable factor of they know that, they know going into that game, they know that Senzatela has been brutal there. So 86. So luckily, he didn't set the record here, taking it from Joe Blanton's 86 there. He's still under Blanton's hit total there from 2013. But the second most hits allowed through a starter's first 10 starts. It's just another example of everything. And to be totally honest, I don't know what Senzatela does to change the game and change his game to become a starter that will contribute significantly going forward to the Rockies. I mean, because you can point out, I mean, Germán, he's coming off the injury and there's the concerns there, but Germán used to be able to strike people out. If Germán's able to rebuild his strength and start getting stuff up and recover, even if this is a down year, a bad year for his future going forward, whether it's with the Rockies or not, I just worry about Senzatela being a starter still. I think when you're thinking about maybe getting a bullpen spot, maybe an option where he can come in and get you a ground ball when you need to out of the bullpen or something like that. But it's clear that Antonio Senzatela is not confusing people. He is not making people uncomfortable up there. We know that he has been backed up by big defensive plays here from the Rockies in his starts this year, especially when it goes back to that. But I'm going here through the Senzatela game logs. Senzatela's lowest amount of hits in a game allowed this year is 6, and that was back on April 20th against Washington. Other than that, he has allowed over 6 hits in at least every start. Now, does that immediately translate into earned runs? No, it doesn't. But it does. It certainly adds on to it. The only times that he has escaped without allowing a crooked number, he has. The first time he saw Philly, he did give up the 10 hits and no earned runs, but that was back on April 3rd, back when baseball was, back when teams were a lot still warming up, still getting going. Now when you're in May, now when we're heading into Memorial Day weekend, where for a lot of people, momentum is starting to build, the season is really starting to get going, it's abundantly clear that Antonio Senzatela is not able to avoid bats and avoid damage being done against him. In the month of May, opponents are batting .374 against him, and he's got a whip of .211. 12 strikeouts to 9 walks. He's allowed 34 hits in 20 innings pitched. 18 earned runs, 22 runs total. Hasn't been bit by the long ball too much, I guess, when you're looking at that, but still. There's nothing about Senza right now that's giving me a bunch of confidence that he's going to be able to turn things around and make an adjustment. I'm hoping Germán, can kind of grow through the season and get his strength and get better there. But this is just Senza I think this is just where we're at with Antonio Senzatela. He's allowed 10 hits twice this year. He's allowed, 8 hits 3 times, 9 hits twice. In all of May, all of his starts in May, he has allowed at least 4 earned runs in his starts. Senzatela has allowed more than 4 runs in one, or 4 runs or more in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of his 10 starts. 70% of the Antonio Senzatela starts for the Colorado Rockies, he has allowed 4+ runs. It's just unacceptable. And it's just not going to be, and it was on display. The Phillies were feasting on Senzatela. Let's get another tweet here from Patrick Saunders. Hold on one second. All right, Patrick Saunders. Rockies have allowed at least 17 hits in consecutive games for the first time since September 14th, 2016. That's a huge part of the problem. Obviously, we can point to the offense here and be like, what the heck? The offense didn't do much, but this was, again, against a good pitching staff and a weak team, and the Rockies were able to, start chipping away at least a little bit, getting after the bullpen and putting some stuff, out there where it's just like, okay, at least when you're looking at the big picture of things, when you zoom out, you're kind of like, okay, the Rockies offense is bad going up against a good pitcher. It will be a challenge for them. Not so surprised to see that the Rockies offense got dominated in terms of strikeouts again. But my main big takeaway when I looked at this, one of them, I should say, from this game is it's just the warning signs of Senza are tough. And man, unfortunately, my preseason take of being confident in this rotation coming back with these guys being a huge part of it, the Marquez, the Senzas, these guys coming back in the rotation, I figured they would be enough of a game changer to help the Rockies get over the hump and be a team that can win in the mid 60s there. But in reality, when you're looking at it, Senza and Marquez, probably two of the more disappointing Rockies of this season. And it's a bummer to see two guys that have contributed and been successful with the Colorado Rockies as well. Let's see. Let's just kind of wrap up other stuff to just note. Jesus Luzardo, 10 strikeouts against the Rockies to 3 walks, holding them to 1 earned run with 2 hits across 6 innings. And but the one thing that was kind of nice to see at the bottom and mixed with a couple of nifty defensive plays from Ezequiel Tovar and Adiel Amador, the bottom of the lineup did get some damage. Big day for Tyler Freeman yesterday. 3 hits there, 3 for 4. Adiel Amador gets a base knock and an RBI. Mickey Moniak comes in with a nice pinch hit RBI single there into right field. Ryan McMahon comes in, picks up a couple of hits and an RBI there. So some good stuff. Brenton Doyle, a nice day at the dish for him with a double and 2 walks. Hopefully starting to get things brewing a little bit for him. But there's 2 things I want to keep talking about as well in response to this game. And it involves the offensive side. Let's do that coming up next after this word from the folks that help make this show possible. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When you start using Monarch, you're going to realize just how much you're spending on food delivery, streaming services, all that stuff. Now you can budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Back here on the Locked On Rockies podcast for segment number 2 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you again so much for making us your first listen of the day. We really do appreciate that. Okay, we are rocking and rolling here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. We're breaking down the concerns from Senza, concerns from the Rockies in general there. But one of my main things is this, and one of the things, and this kind of like relates to one of the other topics I wanted to talk about. The Rockies have a cleanup hitter problem, and we cannot continue to allow Michael Toglia to bat in the 4-hole to just take 3 strikes and that's it. It just plain and simple. It is not going to. It doesn't fly. I mean, it's so infuriating. I mean, Toglia is getting to the point of being a painful watch right now in some ways, because it just is to have what you want Michael Toglia to be on the other side of the field in Schwarber, and for it to just be strikeouts, 3-pitch strikeouts. And to just be toast, it's a very frustrating watch. On the other side, on another thing though, on the plus side, something that I was confident in, or I did like seeing from the Rockies yesterday. It wasn't like they were doing it a ton, but there was just a sequence where Brenton Doyle steals a base, and then Freeman gets on, and then Freeman tries, and he does the swim move, and he's safe. I do think we're going to see the Rockies be more aggressive on the base paths this year now with the change in manager. I do think that that's going to be one of the noticeable differences between Bud Black and Warren Schaefer, especially at this point, right? Why not? Don't run yourself out of ball games. Don't run yourself out of opportunities. But in reality, why not take some chances now? You have to start. You're going to have to steal some bases to generate some offense to start stealing some wins. You're going to have to start doing the small things here and start making it so you can be the team that's aggressive. Make it so that you're the team that's putting a little bit of pressure on there, and when you do get the speed on the bases, use it. So I'm hoping that that's going to be a trend that we see to continue. Get some aggression, get some hit and runs going, get some guys, use some of, again, not the fastest guys, but overall speed and base stealing abilities. They got some guys that can do it. So when you have those opportunities, when you're, and I think that can help get the offense moving in some ways. Brenton Doyle's going through a lot of it right now, but if you're starting to have a game, yesterday, couple of walks and a double, stolen base, that type of stuff is going to start building up the confidence and start getting the feet under him a little bit as well. Same with Tyler Freeman and come back in here, still trying to forge his way back from his injury, back into the lineup and start making his impressions on this team. Get out there and have not only rack up some hits, but go out there and snag a base or two there. And that's going to be a huge benefit for the Rockies. It's going to be a way for them to get themselves back into ball games, get themselves back on the scoreboard and put the pressure on teams, especially at Coors. If you're able to start running around and putting the ball in play and getting guys and runners in scoring position, it'll help the Rockies. That it was on display yesterday with after Doyle got to second, boom, they were able to use Doyle's speed and the fact that he moved up and get the run across. So that's one of the main things I'd like to see this team continue to focus on. I'd like to see again, and that's going to include getting thrown out. That's going to include, not being successful either. But the broadcast was talking a little bit about this yesterday as well. At this point, you don't need to take, all the dumb risks in the world. You don't need to be ridiculous and go overboard and stuff. But why not take with where you're at, with how the season has gone, with the fact that if the Rockies now lose two more, they're going to be through 50 games if they lose two more games, still without double-digit wins. So why not do some stuff like that? Why not be aggressive on the base paths? Why not use that speed? The other thing I wanted to talk about here too, and I wanted to put my GM hat on, and I alluded to it with the Tolia thing. I think the Rockies should go get Kyle Schwarber. And again, it's impossible probably to do so, but I believe back when he signed his deal, I thought the Rockies should have done it then too. I'm curious. It just put yourself, and of course you can think about it, but would you be okay if the Rockies back in 2021, I think because it would have been 2021 going into the 2022 season is when his first thing when Schwarber was only 29 years old. Would you be okay with a 4-year with a 4-year deal that paid him $20 million a year? The first year that he had it was 19, but the rest was $20 million. That's less money than Chris Bryant, and I believe that's less money than Kyle Freeland. He would be the third highest paid player on the Rockies if he was indeed on the roster with this same contract. Kyle Schwarber is perfect for the Colorado Rockies. Kyle Schwarber could fix a lot of issues for the Rockies in terms of offense because they don't have they're trying to go with the bargain bin and trying to develop Tolia into a Schwarber type guy. But why not go get the guy that's the best at it? Why not go get the guy that's going to fit your home profile so well and be the perfect DH for you? Because then at that point, you move on from Jacob Stallings. You have Hunter Goodman become your primary catcher with Drew Romo or whoever else you want to call up from within your organization. So your catcher situation is fine. And you're going to have to make a decision. We can't sit here any longer and wait for Chris Bryant to make an impact on the Colorado Rockies. It just isn't going to happen. You need to start planning for the post Chris Bryant spot. And if you want to raise some eyebrows and make things a little bit more interesting for the Rockies, go get one of the best bats in baseball. Go get a guy that, yes, will strike out a bunch of times, but his slugging and on-base percentage is going to his home runs, his slugging, that type of stuff would be perfect for your DH at Coors Field. Not only that, he can help you. He could help a guy like Michael Toglia, develop and work on the swing and work on the approach to build up and make it so that he could be, a similar type of bat, a similar type of impact. Let's take a look. I just want to take a look here real quick at just some Schwarber numbers from the last 4 seasons here. He has 17 home runs right now in 2025. Let me just hold on. I should have done this before, I know, but bear with me here. 17 home runs right now for Schwarber. That's more than the Rockies' top 2 combined. Jordan Beck and Hunter Goodman puts you at 15. No Rocky is in double digits right now. Schwarber is at 17. And that's the norm for him. Since he signed, he was an all-star with Philly in 2022. And there's ups and downs here. And it's maybe to say, hey, would Schwarber even be the same player if he came to the Rockies? How do we know that? We're talking hypotheticals here, right? We're talking everything works out perfectly in my brain type of thing. But for these numbers, this would be insane if you got the Rockies this type of production. 46 home runs in 2022, 47 home runs in 2023, 38 home runs in 2024, and 17 home runs already this year. He drove in 94 RBI in 2022, 104 in 2023, and 104 in 2024. He's already got 37 this year. Yes, of course, when we're going to look at it, 200 strikeouts he's been averaging at least 200 strikeouts basically the last 3 seasons. But he walked 106 times last year. He walked 126 times the year before that. He can still get on base through the walk and things like that. If you wanted to make, and yes, he's going to be a little bit older. He's going to be, so don't go with a crazy contract. Don't go with something that's going to be out of this world, which is going to be the difference maker. The Rockies aren't going to be able to get Schwarber because there's no way they're going to probably match what he wants in terms of years and money. But when we're talking profile, when we're talking a guy that could really help turn things around for the Colorado Rockies, Kyle Schwarber could be that guy. Kyle Schwarber could certainly be that guy that could help out this team and do some damage here. When we're talking about home run, let's just compare him, for example, to let's do a Ryan McMahon, for example, here in terms of offensive production and that. Ryan McMahon doesn't even come close to sniffing the offensive production of Kyle Schwarber since 2022. And he's close in terms of strikeouts too. Not as much in 2022, but Ryan McMahon struck out 198 times in 2023 and 185 times in 2024. In that time, he had 65 RBI last year, 70 RBI last year, 20 home runs and 23 home runs there. Schwarber across the board puts it to shame. And remember, McMahon's supposed to be a big part of the offense. He's supposed to be a big threat to this offense. I mean, Schwarber last year had 39 more RBI than Ryan McMahon. There's plenty of examples I can point to here, but if you're sitting here saying what would be a move that would raise eyebrows, make things interesting, and add some thump to this Rockies lineup, you go get Kyle Schwarber. You go get Kyle Schwarber, and he DHs at Coors Field for the vast majority of the season, for half the season. And what have we seen at Coors Field so far? We've seen Schwarber hit baseballs to the moon. To the moon. I think this would be a slam dunk, man. Don't go overboard. Doesn't need to be an 8-year, nothing like that. And it doesn't line up in terms of where the Rockies are competitive wise and making a run wise. So this won't happen. But if you're talking about a guy that fits the Coors Field profile, if you're talking about a guy that fits that could help the Rockies tremendously, Kyle Schwarber's that guy. Especially because you don't have to worry about anything on defense. It's boom, you play DH, you're set, you're good. Let's wind down the show with some comments from the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day here. Locked On Rockies wrapping things up here on the Locked On Rockies podcast, free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you so much again for making us your first listen of the day. K Gold says, turns out the bullpen ain't such a strong point. There's Bird and Agnos who've done well this season. The rest of the relievers are meh to bad. Victor Vodnik being healthy could help. A thing to remind yourself with some of these bullpen pieces is not a ton of experience. Yes, it's frustrating, and yes, that game stunk, but it is a good reminder that a lot of these guys have very little experience here at the major leagues, but it's hard to kind of hear, oh, the bullpen's the bright spot. Bullpen's the bright spot. Look at how good the bullpen's in. And then when they're tested, it falls it falls flat like this. RK says, I've really missed an opportunity to make some money betting against the Rockies this year. Hey, I mean, if you're not, it's probably not a bad idea to head over to FanDuel and just take the over on pitcher strikeouts against the Rockies. Let's see here. It has to be frustrating when Kyle does his job. This is from Jim here. And someone else comes in and gets annihilated by the other team. I have to wonder, will it take a complete overhaul to fix this team, or will we see a turnaround in June or July? And let's see. Let the right in. I'm trying to read the jumbled together YouTube name here. Says, LOL, turnaround. This team will not win more than 30, 33 games. Mark my words. I do think they'll win more than 30, 33 games, but man, it is a tough spot. When it comes to this, I looked at the schedule again, and I looked at the second half of the schedule too, and it's just like, holy smokes, man. It's like it is a big problem for that. Let's see here. Also, let the right in says, Charlie Condon and Cole Carrig have to remain healthy and keep developing. That's very true, too, especially Condon. There was a commenter asking if we should bring him up. At this point, we're not bringing Drew Romo and Ryan Ritter for some defense. I believe Romo's still recovering from breaking his hand, which kind of flew under the radar for a little bit there. I think that's why he's not been playing, because I'm going to be real. Jacob Stallings, what's the point? At this, I mean, he's not contributing the way he did last year. You could go in other options. You have other catchers that you'd like to probably see. So it'll be interesting. And who do I think is the most likely pitcher to flourish and become an all-star out of Hill, Dollander, and Halverson? Or do you think someone else? I am not discouraged by Dollander yet, or at all, really. I mean, of course, there's been some stuff, but I think in the context of a normal season where a team isn't historically bad, I think you can look at Chase Dollander and say, this is a guy who, rocketed through the minors, is being put into a tough situation, is learning Coors Field, has been going through it. I think that we've seen that he has the ability to get strikeouts, and he has things to become a special pitcher. It's just with the backdrop and just on a tough team. So out of those guys, I still believe the hype, and I'm still very high on the Dollander train. And I do believe Seth Halverson can become a very good, it still will be a good option out of the pen for the Rockies with what he can do. It's just with young pitchers, that's what I need to remember. That's what I need to, that's the kind of the thing that's tough when with the frustrations of the bullpen, because Halverson, of course, struggled in that first game, but we've seen some flashes. We've seen what he can do, and it's. I don't want to just wash away any concerns, but to just answer your question, I'm still pretty bullish on Chase. I still think he's going to be quite a talent for the Colorado Rockies. All right, we had more comments, but not enough time. Keep them coming, folks. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone tuning in for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. For your second listen of the day, go check out MLB Game Night. It's a pretty cool new show we got going on. Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And, of course, if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs. Free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, folks, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.